Hey guys, Tommy Kerrigan with Tommy Untamed. We've got a great show coming up. Thank you for watching. What's up, guys? Thank you for watching Tommy Untamed. We're going to take a quick break and give a shout out to the sponsors who support the show and make it possible. The world's smartest investors are not buying oil stocks. They're buying mailbox money or oil royalties instead. I'm talking about passive income that shows up month after month, starting with as little as $25. Visit KerriganOilBoom.com to discover how to tap into monthly royalty checks from America's most productive oil basin. You don't need to be wealthy or connected, you just need a regular brokerage account. That's KerriganOilBoom.com to learn how you could start collecting oil royalty checks every month. Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food, 72 servings per pail, 25 years shelf life. I've had the owner Clayton on the show before. He's a God-fearing, America-loving patriot. Get one of these, get a couple of them, throw them in your basement. It's good to have it, not need it, than to need it and not have it. If you don't want to do that, you can get their seeds. You can plant your own garden, so you don't even have to keep buying them. You can just get the goods and start your own, or you can even get freeze-dried fruits and vegetables like bananas, apples, strawberries, and raspberries. They support the show. It's an honest product. It's a good safety measure to have, and they keep my show free for you. So I'd implore you guys to please go to heavensharvest.com, use the link in the description, promo code TPC. Axios Fitness Coaching is a premium resource for holistic strength and conditioning services. Axios is best known for the Training Club, capital T, capital C, an exclusive community that prioritizes accountability, technique, diet, and nutrition. Everything you need to do to take action against the decay of the modern world. Whether you're looking to improve your physique, build strength, or just take care of your health and fitness, Axios will provide you with the solution that is effective and simple to execute. All you need to do is complete the intake survey, and you can see if you're a good candidate for the training club or any other of the services. And it's going to sponsor the show. So, one company falls off, another one arises. So if you guys like the show, you want to work out, throw the show a couple shekels, go take the survey. Thank you so much, guys.
Higher ultraviolet exposure is associated with lower mortality. The United Kingdom is a high latitude and low sunlight country. Researchers there collected data on over 360,000 participants in a study of UV exposure via solarium use. When compared with non-users, solarium users had 15% risk lowered of all-cause mortality, 23% lower risk of cardiovascular mortality, 14% lower risk of cancer mortality, and a 12% lower risk of non-cardiovascular, non-cancer mortality. In other words, all other causes. Quoting the researchers, our study adds to the growing evidence that the benefits of UV exposure outweigh the risks in low sunlight environments. A link to the original publication is available in the box below the video. Get some UV light this winter. Immerse yourself in the tranquility of the blue. Visit a Blue Room soon. www.blueroom.com.
You go into the description, you can find his socials, you can find the link to his book, Lone Operator, as well as the new knife, which is based on your time in Ground Branch, I believe. Can you touch on that real quick and I'll
Yeah.
pull it up?
Yeah, man. So good talking to you again, man. Lots going on since we last talked. Yeah, man, I
Half
have
breed.
worked with this guy named Jonathan who owns a company in Australia called Half Breed Blades. And we decided to make a knife together. And what we did is we took a knife that he already had. He's like, dude, can you do anything to this thing to make it more functional, et cetera, et cetera? I said, yeah, man, because it had a really nice profile to it. It had a nice blade, good grip. It just had little things you could just change around. So I played with it. And anyway, it's called the SOFMAC, the Special Operations Forces assault knife. And it's really cool, dude. He did a really, really good job. It's been about a year in the making. The guy's super busy. He's got a lot of really high end. If you go to halfbreedblades.com, super high end knives, dude. Like he uses like the best of everything. And I actually got to meet him at the Blade show last year. And matter of fact, that's coming up in June in Atlanta. I'll probably be going to it. But anyway, just check it out. Just go to Half Breed Blades and go to SOFMAC. And yeah, man, it's a really nice knife. Really
Absolutely.
nice knife.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I'll put it in the description. Absolutely. That would be badass. Yeah. And to, again, for everybody listening, please go grab the book, Lone Operator. It's in the description. But yeah, to talk about kind of everything the last 2 weeks that's come out surrounding JFK, RFK, MLK, and about it being, CIA or Mossad or whoever. As you know, you were. I mean, it really is the most elite of the elite. You, Dale, really only a handful of guys in Ground Branch, and this is not to imply Ground Branch, but that black world of. I think the last time we talked was
Right.
about the cartels, and you were like, you could do something like special operations or tier one. You're like, or you could do something like special activities where you'd only. I think you said you're like you would put one or two guys down there. It really is. It's
Sure.
about as condensed as you can get. You can't get more distilled than that. What are your thoughts on this? Is this just kind of clickbait for everyone? Oh, who was this? Is this your normal cloak and dagger stuff? Or is it something where, and this is kind of where I believe, if it really was as black of an operation as we're talking about, there's never going to be any of it. If it's done well,
Yeah.
it's going to be a ghost. You're not going to know.
Well, first off, before we start talking, before somebody gets their panties in a wad that's watching, I'm not condoning or approving anything.
No, 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 no. Wild
Yeah,
speculation. Yeah.
yeah. I'm not condoning or approving anything that the agency has done in the past. Look,
Yeah.
when Kennedy was killed, I wasn't even born. Was that 63, four,
Yeah, yeah.
63?
November is 62 years
Yeah,
ago. Yeah,
I
no.
wasn't even born yet. So different administration, different director, different politics. The Bay of Pigs going on. I mean, and from what I do know about, and again, Tom, you and I both know you can read stuff online about conspiracy theories and whatnot, but there seems to be a trend. From what I understand, Kennedy was starting to really look into the inner workings of the agency, probably a little too far. I don't know all the details. Obviously, it's all out there. I even read on one thread there was some company that he was even thinking about dismantling it. Again, I don't know how true that is, but then you add in Marilyn Monroe and all this other stuff that was going on. The way I look at this is pretty simplistically is what organization on this planet or what person has the power and the ability to kill a U.S. president and get away with it,
Yeah.
right? There's only one organization that comes to my mind, that makes sense. I mean, why would the Mossad have killed him? I don't know, but the agency has the assets, the money, the skill, to do something like that. Again, not condoning anything. What was the director's name back then, Tom? Adelson or something?
Sh-
Or
Sheldon Adelson.
he
I don't
was
know. Oh,
yeah, and if you read about this guy, he's kind of a loose cannon too, so a different time and place. But anyway, it makes sense. Um it makes complete sense, that something like that might have happened. But I really don't know who would be able to pull off something like that and do it so cleanly that in what 60 years, like 60 years later, nobody knows who did it. Like,
there's only so many
yeah,
different paths you can look at on who would do it, and it's sure you can say yeah because he did want to dissolve the agency, but there's always power struggles and palace drama or is never is it's not new. It's as old as mankind. But yeah, you do eventually have to just rationally look at it. Who could kill a sitting U.S. president? Not an
yeah,
ex-president, not an upcoming,
yeah,
a current president. The height of the
yeah,
Cold War. This wasn't like,
yeah.
you know, you could
Oh
get
yeah,
close to FDR and Truman because the Secret Service was still pretty skeletal back then. But
right.
you got to remember, this is a year after Cuban Missile Crisis. It's not exactly we're at
Yeah.
peace or
World War
anything.
Three was like right on the. Yeah, there was a
Yeah,
lot going on.
World War Three was right on the corner, and World War Two was closer in the rearview mirror than 9/11 is
Right,
to us. So like
right,
none of this is new. So you have to ask who could do it, regardless of why. You just have to ask
right.
who could do it, and then subsequently, who could make it so not only is it ghostly, but there didn't really even seem to be. It's one thing to have a full fledged investigation and not be able to find out who did it. You would go, well, that was the CIA. That's how good they are. There's a whole nother level when you go, and it doesn't even really look like they're trying to look into it. Who has that power
Right.
to
Yeah.
squash any?
Right. Exactly.
Which
Right.
is, yeah, and
And then
it's
people talk, and then Tom, people talk about the mafia. They talk about the Cubans. Like, dude, those people don't have the expertise to do that. I mean, they do. They can bump somebody off, but to do it so cleanly and without leaving a trace and without leaving people hanging out to dry where someone's going to talk or show a picture, like, dude, there's just no way. There's just no way. It's just too complicated.
the only way those groups could, Cubans, mafia, whoever, is if they are the assets chosen by the agency. That's the only way you could do it, is if they were the
Right.
puppet whose hand was up their ass. That's the only way.
Sure. Sure. And using cutouts, it's basically called a cutout. Like that is something that the agency does. It's common nomenclature, not classified about that, but they're very when it comes to like stuff like that, boy, they're very meticulous. I got to peek through the veil, so to speak, being in special activities and seeing uh, a very small piece of what they do. You got to remember the agency employs like 25,000 people or something. It's a big organization, right? It's a big monster. But I have always been under the guys that the agency did it. It points to them. They've got the skill. Like I said, they've got all the things in place to do something like that. So, and what Tom, what really upsets me the most is, I guess this is my question. Why even open this can of worms right now? Why even talk about this right now? It's not going to make the CIA look very good in anybody's eyes, which a lot of people, as you know, look at the agency like, oh, CIA. Well, let me tell you something about the CIA. If it wasn't for the CIA being at war 365 days a year, okay, and they are at war 365, our country would not be what it is right now. I can tell you that for a fact. Okay, so they do a lot of good, and I know people have a lot of skepticism about how they do good and their methods to doing good, but this is definitely not going to help. That, and I don't know why. You know.
I have no naivety with, you know, people that don't like the agency. The world's grow up. The world's fucked up, and you have to have it. It's just what it is, and you don't have to like it. You can ignore it. It's just what it is. Now, why would it come out now? I mean, for easiest impulse, it's easy political clout for Trump. He can say, "Look what I did." In terms of like big things to declassify without really declassifying anything, it is 62 years old.
Right.
It was black and white
Right.
TVs. It was pre-moon landing. Like you can it,
Right.
it it doesn't make the agency. I mean, I would almost say it doesn't even make it look too terrible. On the simplest, I'm not even trying to be funny. It does kind of make it look badass. It's not cool to do that. I mean, I know that's like ethically and
No.
morally wrong to say. I get that, but I'm saying it is an incredible feat. But also, it's a kind of like a limited hangout. You put that out there and go, here it is. Here's the involvement. Honestly, it takes a lot of steam out of that general. When it's locked away forever, it doesn't do any help to the conspiracies. You go, well, then they did
Right.
it. When it eventually does come out, it does take a lot of wind out of the sails, and that would almost be,
Sure.
if I'm in the CIA, and I would almost say, yeah, do that, because now you
Right.
can't. It's so much easier to claim it's all classified. Therefore, once you put it all out there, you're taking the bluff away from the people that are blowing up the Kennedy thing. When you have all the
Right.
documents,
Right.
you go, yeah, it looks like there was CIA involvement and some mafia involved. And when you put it out there, there's no big impact of it anymore.
Right.
It's
Right.
honestly, it's probably the smart thing to do. If you're not going to just immediately delete all the information forever, I would say
Right.
this is like the next prudent move. I really do.
Right.
I don't
I
know.
just don't want people to look poorly at the agency. Like I can just tell you from my personal involvement in people I worked with there and people I interfaced with there. Dude, everybody is stellar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Every person's a rock star, super patriotic. They're there for a reason. They're not there just to I work for the CIA. They're there because they want to make a difference and they want to keep our country safe. And people that are listening right now, just remember, different time, different place, different administration, different set of environmentals. Like there was a lot going on. So again, not condoning or approving, that kind of thing. But what I actually fear too, Tom, is this. Think about this. Somebody thinking, oh my God, that was the agency 60 years ago. Imagine what they can do now. Well, yeah, I get it. There's a lot they can do with technology and all kinds of stuff. You don't need a bullet anymore to kill people, right? But and just like watching the assassination, dude, I'm not a ballistics expert at all. I know a little about shooting. I've shot enough to know that your head doesn't go like this when you get shot in the back. Okay, that's basic physics 101. Okay, kinetic energy hitting you like this is going to move your head backwards. Kinetic energy hitting you from the back of the head, which Lee Harvey Oswald, is not going to make your head go backwards. It's going to make it go forward. So anyway, every time I see that video, I'm like, that dude was shot from the front. Guaranteed, he was shot from the front.
Well, it's the comedian Bill Hicks, who I think died in '93. But one of his best bits ever was back and to the left. Back and to the left. That was his quote, back and to the left. But even then, so what you said about making the agency look bad, I mean, I look at all the guys I've you, Dale, to analysts, to actual operators, Baz, Rick Prado, all these guys.
Mm-hmm.
The people that think this is the way I look at it. These files coming out didn't make anyone look at the agency badly that didn't already have it in their mind that the intelligence agencies are all pure evil, blah, blah, blah. And the people that see the necessity of it, I look at it and I go, yeah, the world's you have to have these gray areas. I don't think those papers are also winning over anyone. I got to be totally honest. I think it was 62 years. Like, it's not that it was 10 years. I mean, dude, this was like big chrome Cadillac city slickers. Like Elvis is not yet quite on he is on this. The Beatles aren't here yet. The Beatles came in 64. It's a different entirely thing. And it's also, to me, I guess I look at it a little more abstractly. Like there's a very large difference between like what should and will happen and what actually does. And you have to just be very like realpolitik about it and look at it and go, here's a guy coming in. In the eyes of Curtis LeMay, the head of the Air Force, who himself is a decorated World War II guy, James G. Zangleton, the head of CIA counterintelligence, who cut his teeth in World War II, the Dulles brothers, Wild Bill Donovan, OSS. Right. You have all these guys that they're not GWAT vets. A lot of them are World War I and World War II. They have truly seen the world on fire.
Sure.
And not like, oh, this isn't like, are we going to lose? Are they going to get the bomb? You have them, and then you have this guy, Kennedy, who comes in, and let's be totally honest, he's a rock star. He's fucking every woman left, right, and center. He's talking about how we should work with the Soviets together and go to space together. And then on top of all of it, and you know what? I'm gonna dissolve the CIA into 1,000 pieces. You have to just look at it not like, well, he's the president. I can read a book too. You have to just be very honest with yourself and go, what we know about human nature, both historically and from all of our own interactions with people, you're pissing off the most powerful people in the most powerful planet. Is there ego involved? Yes. And I've said this before. I also think a lot of the guys that probably had this pulled off legitimately believed it was in the U.S.'s interest.
100%.
LeMay looked at him and was like, the Soviets just put nukes in Cuba, and you won't let us go to... Curtis LeMay led bombing formations over Japan. Do you think he's got a little bit of a
An
chip on his
opinion.
shoulder where he goes,
Sure.
"This fucking pretty boy,
Yeah,
this."
sure.
He's like, "I've bombed people 9,000 miles away. This pretty boy is hesitant about taking out nukes 90 miles from Florida." I think a lot of them looked at it and they were like, they probably had their own reasons to not like him. I think a lot of them looked at it and they're like, "This starry-eyed pretty boy is going to end this
And the
world."
whole world.
And
Yeah.
I
Oh, for
lost
sure.
9 out of my 10 best friends on Omaha Beach.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
No, yeah, that's what
again,
I'm saying.
not
Different time
condoning
and
it,
place.
but I get it.
That's a yeah, that's a very good way to look at it. People need to understand this listening, who was running the show then and where we were in time and the real fears that we had. Like and the whole Cuban Missile Crisis thing. I mean, of course I've read about it and I know a little bit about it, but like that was serious shit, dude. And you hit the nail right on the head, Tom. You got to realize these people weren't just looking at the man of the office. They were like, this is a threat, whether it was you or me or something. Like, I don't even think they looked at it like he's the president. It's like, this person is going to cause ABC to happen. And the end of that could be a war, another world war. And they took matters into their own hands and took them out of the equation, so to speak. Like,
And
I get it. I get it. Again, I'm not condoning or saying everything's great, but I get it. Especially like you just said, the guys that were in charge then and who were leaders, how they actually thought about things. This isn't some low intensity conflict bullshit. This is a fucking world war that's going to start with nukes. The whole thing's done. That's what they were looking at. Big picture shit.
I always bring it back to like you have to look at it in terms of like what had just happened. It's
Exactly.
again, it's I mean, there's a when I talk to you or Dale or who when I talk to these guys who served overseas GWAT, and there's a different, and I'll have to tell people who watch the show that like that guy's intense. I'm like, yeah, I understand, man. These guys fought over there. Amplify that by a
A
hundred
hundred. Oh yeah.
trillion. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
425,000 U.S. deaths in World War II, 8
Yeah.
million soldiers deployed,
Yes.
5,000 to take Okinawa alone. And then how does it end? It ends with a brand new bomb that
Right.
vaporizes a city. 4 years later, the Soviets get them. Then they
Right.
launch Sputnik, which implies that they can put them on our. It is
Exactly.
all still right there. You have World War One. World War One what ends 1918. So you have 21 years later.
20
World
years.
War Two starts. Okay, so
Yep.
there's a 20-year gap, and it was the World War One was called the Great War because it would never happen again, and then it happened again. So then you have
Right.
World War Two ends in 45, and it is
Right.
now 18 years later. You have a
Right.
lot of these guys that are going, yeah, the first one that was never supposed
Mm-mm-mm.
to happen again just happened
Yeah.
again, and now the
Yeah.
second one's over and it will never happen again. And well, maybe we're just being paranoid. Hey, look, they just put nukes in Cuba.
Yeah.
Do you think
Bingo.
that? And
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
not condoning it. I mean,
Right.
no, you shouldn't kill the president. Hey, man, you have a lot of people that are going, I'll be goddamned if all
Yeah.
of
If I'm
my
gonna let this
friends who
happen
are
again.
buried in
Right.
France in
Sure.
Iwo Jima, I'll be
Sure.
goddamned
Sure.
if you're gonna do this and
Yeah.
this fucking pussy is gonna say,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
man,
get it.
it's to anyone that doesn't like this. Hey, just be nuanced. Remove your emotions from it and just look at it.
Dude, there you go. Remove your emotions from this for once and just kind of put on that unbiased hat and look at what was going on as you just eloquently explained it and think about the big picture and what was best for our country.
Yeah.
Not for one man, not for one office, not for one family, but our entire nation, the whole world. Because that whole Cuban Missile Crisis could have went completely south.
Well,
Couple wrong moves, dude,
no,
game over.
over.
90 miles away. You can't even right now, we don't have the technology to react with something 90 miles away. You don't have the time. And that was 60 years ago. You're done. You've
And
had it.
and mind you, this is still, but while Kennedy was still alive, the Soviets detonated Tsar Bomba, which was
That's right.
57 megatons. For clarity, the U.S. detonated Fat Boy, Little Man, whichever, 15 kilotons and 20 kilotons. We then detonated
Right.
our largest hydrogen bombs ever, called Castle Bravo, 15 megatons, 1,000 times larger. 1,000 times larger. The Soviets then detonated one 3.5 times larger than ours. That was so it was equal to 3,300 Hiroshimas. It's right there. And this is the other thing I look at is
Yeah.
it's the idea of like control control groups as well as lessons learned. In that some things you can learn from. A car hits a fucking pole, you go, the airbag deployed. Oh, we should, yeah, you know what? I'll make sure next time, or if I ever have kids, I'll get a minivan because I know that they can survive. And then there are
Right.
controls that you don't survive. You have all these guys sitting around and they go, okay, we take out Kennedy because he's a direct threat to the United States. And they're not stupid. They probably went, this is a kind of an unprecedented thing. This is treasonous. But let's say we don't do it. There is no control group to where you go, okay, so let's see what happens if we let Kennedy live, and let's see what happens if we let Kennedy die. You have one where we go, if he lives, we might die in a thermonuclear holocaust, and then we're gonna look at each other in the bunkers and go, we probably should have
Damn.
taken him. There's no
Yep.
control group, is what I
Nope.
mean. Is there's
Nope.
no learning a lesson from Russian roulette. It's over.
Right.
So you're looking
Right.
at this, and again, you have a
Yeah.
bunch of guys that are probably going, I've firebombed civilian populations into submission for my country. And again, like you said it perfectly, is
Sure.
like they're not looking at him as the president. They're looking at him as some dude that's a threat. Is it right? Is it
Yes.
wrong? Man, I'm not. Normally, I used to always say no, it's wrong. I look at it now, man. I'm going. I don't think. No, I don't know what it's like to be in World War II, man. I really
Right.
don't. And I
Right.
don't think you can look at it and have these guys that are. I mean, Curtis maybe would talk about how you could smell the burning flesh at 20,000 feet over Tokyo.
Yeah. How
Hey,
do you can't
man,
wrap your head around that?
you
Yeah.
know what? I really don't. And it's no, you can't kill that. I get that, dude. I'm not. I'm not willing to say they did the wrong thing. And I
Yeah.
know that's a
No.
comically ironic thing to say with a flag behind me. I
Right.
don't. I just
Tom,
don't.
it's about the common good. It's
It,
about the common good.
yeah, it's a
It's
man.
bigger than one person or one office. I get that. Whether it was, like I said, you, me, or somebody else, uh, the agency, obviously there are intelligence gathering apparatus, but they do a hell of a lot more than that too. Um, I can tell you from my personal experience and what I saw, the work that they do. Without the work that they do, we would not be living the way we do. At that, I can guarantee we would have already had several 9/11s, in my opinion, after 9/11 that were stopped. You know what I mean? And it was stopped by that organization and their good work. So people can sit there and crucify them for whether they killed Kennedy or not, whatever. Let's say they did. They weren't just doing it just to do it. Okay, they didn't just sit around one day and go, hey, you know what, Tom, let's dunce Kennedy just for shits and giggles. That's a big deal. They were doing it. It was thought through. It wasn't just somebody pulled it out of their butt. They thought it through and said, these are our courses of action. Do it, not do it. If we don't, this is what can happen. If we do it, this stops this. Like, they didn't just sit there and just throw spaghetti to wall. People sat down in a room somewhere and talked about it and thought about the pros and the cons. And it obviously, if they did it, the cons were, that scale tipped way to one side, and that was it.
You also have another thing, man. You have Dwight Eisenhower was not a fan of Kennedy. As a matter of
No, it
fact,
was
when
not.
Kennedy brought him to so Camp David always used to, they would change the name every time a new president came in. Kennedy's the one who solidified it as Camp David because he was giving it as a sign of respect to Eisenhower, whose grandson's name was David. Because Kennedy said, it's all off the record, Kennedy invited him out and he took him for a walk, and basically he was bitching about the Bay of Pigs, and he said Eisenhower gave me the tongue lashing of a lifetime, and after that I respected the man. Eisenhower didn't like him, man. Five
I
star
know.
Supreme
Yeah,
Allied Commander, and he's like, fuck this guy. Like,
yeah,
fuck this
yeah.
kid. And so
And
it's
Tom, what you're saying is all out there. Like, don't take our
no,
word
that's
for
from
it.
the book
Like, it's
Ravenrock.
history.
I've
Yeah,
had the
this is
author on.
history.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm
it's
saying.
and so
Yeah,
and so I think they look at it. I think you're looking at it like, and by the way, it's not like, oh, so every time they have an unpopular president. No, you mean they didn't like Jimmy Carter. He just didn't get rid. They
yeah.
just you saw what they did to Trump in the first hand. They
Right.
stonewalled him. I mean, but I really do think, and is it right? You might have. I think if you could actually sit down and talk to like Curtis LeMay or James Jesus Angleton. I also don't think, and maybe I'm naive, I don't think they're pure demons from hell. I think they'd look at you, they'd have a drink, and they'd be like, hey, man to man, we're like 60% sure this was the right move.
Sure.
I think
Yeah.
they'd be very honest with you and
Well,
go,
dude, I don't
I
think they were
might.
doing it for selfish reasons. They weren't doing it for, for accolades or parades.
Yeah,
They
dude.
were doing it because they were worried about what the outcome was going to be if they didn't do
And another thing you
it.
have to
Didn't
look
do it.
at is the I think it was the first technically the first special access program was the Manhattan Project, the most solidified,
Right.
siloed, compartmentalized thing ever. No one would ever know about it. This was
Yep.
is out in the middle of the desert in the middle of the United States at war. You can't get in. Two separate groups of infiltrators got in. The Rosenbergs, who were both
Yep.
put to death, and then
Yep.
Klaus Fuchs, who wasn't even a Soviet guy. He was a
Yeah, I was gonna
British
say, yeah, he
spy, our
wasn't right.
ally.
Exactly. I
So you
know.
had two of
Imagine
them
that.
who, and what did they? No phones were being hacked. They physically got
Yeah,
the fuck in there.
in there.
They
Yeah.
had, so they let the nukes get to the Soviet Union, and then we also didn't find out, I think, until the 90s that there were tactical nukes. So we knew that they were trying to put nukes on missiles in Cuba, but we wanted to go in there because we said they didn't have tactical nukes. And if they did, the Cubans didn't have the authorization to use it. We didn't find out till the 90s that there were battlefield nukes, and they'd already been delegated by the Soviets. They said, "Hey,
Yep.
if the Americans come at you, start using it." We were closer than we even thought,
Yeah.
and I just
Dude, that whole Manhattan Project, Tom, is so interesting because I was reading about it. They tried to crucify Oppenheimer,
mm-hmm.
who he was the lead
Yeah.
scientist that was in charge of the whole project, excuse me. And what was crazy is for those that are listening, what our what they almost didn't even give us a security clearance because he was associating with the Communist Party. He had friends with the Communist Party. I believe his girlfriend was with the Communist Party. So think about that. You're dealing with the most secretive fucking project of all time, and your lead scientists are going, is he talking to the Russians?
Is he one
Like,
of us?
yeah, is he one of us? I mean, guys, read about it. It's really fascinating stuff if you read about the Manhattan Project. I've read a lot about it, and just because I was curious. But yeah, he was. They really tried to crucify that guy. I mean, after the whole thing was done and everything, and they. But anyway, he did great things. Again, who knows if he was the leak? It's like this leak now. What is the thing now that's going around that Pete Hegseth released some kind of classified information or something? Did you see about that, Tom?
Yeah,
It,
it was some like
I don't even know what it is. Like, what? Come on, dude. Like, and then they asked him if he was drinking. Some idiot senator. Oh, guys, you got to Google it. Go on YouTube. Some senator, some Democrat senator was like, was Mr. Hegseth drinking during this time? Like, dude, what an ignorant thing to say. And he got crucified by the director of the CIA. Actually, he asked the director, was he drinking? And the director blasted this guy out of the water, dude. But anyway, yeah, don't even get me started on that. But anyway. And by the way, I was dead wrong. I am so glad Pete Hegseth, not to digress, Tom, but I was worried. You and I even talked about this. I was worried about not about his loyalty or his patriotism. It's just his ability to work at that level. But dude, he's doing a great job. I think he's all about the war fighter. What did they have found? Like $800 million worth of like government contracts that they just nixed that they're going to funnel back into the mill. Like, so he's doing a great job. He's been in office, what, for now, 3 months? Like, they're doing good things. So I'm glad to say that I was worried, but I'm not worried anymore. So anyway, just wanted to say.
I was gonna say to bring up another point about about Kennedy was continuity of government plans, which I think technically started under Truman, but really progressed under Eisenhower. And it was, I mean, the most obvious were, NORAD, Cheyenne Mountain, Mount Weather, all
Right.
the nuclear bunkers. But then it was also like the processes of like, well, how do you keep it all right? You can't just have bunkers. How do you blah, blah, blah. So it was all super classified shit in the 50s. Eisenhower set something up called the czar system, and what he did was he took I think like the 12 like leading kind of like tycoons in the different industries. I mean, that long after, but akin to like a Rockefeller. Or if it was today, you'd go a
Right.
Bezos would be like your logistics guy, an Elon would be your
Sure.
rocket and energy guy, a Bill Gates would be
Sure.
whatever. He took the 12 czars and he put together this whole thing, and he said, he's like, this isn't a normal war. He's like, if this happens, people are going to lose their minds, they're going to break mentally. And so he was like, you are going to oversee all communications, we're going to try to keep things going so that people have some news. He was like, you are going to run all automotive industry, everything that's built. You're
Interesting.
going to, he took all these guys and he's basically like, if it hits the fan, you guys are the best because you do it privately. The private industry is always more
Sure.
efficient. You're going to do food. And then they even did all these studies on, like, okay, we could move people from irradiated cities to the national parks, and here's where we could put camps. And then like, and they even started calculating the number of deer. They're like, here's the amount of venison meat we could kill
Wow.
a year. But he put, because he was like, it is so beyond the pale of what's going to happen.
Sure.
You basically need these cutthroat guys. When shit hits the fan, you want Bezos to come in and take over the
Sure.
USPS. You're like, just
Yeah.
put
You need
together
rock
this whole
stars,
thing.
dude.
Had all these guys come in. They're all sworn in, and it's like, you are going to serve your country. He's like, money won't mean anything anymore. He puts together this thing. Kennedy comes in, immediately nixes all of it, and says a czar system is an American.
Oh,
Do you
wow.
think you had? Do you think?
It's not American.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, not only are you going to push us towards World War III, but you took Eisenhower's blueprints. He goes, here, hey, Tom, here's what happens if it goes to shit. I go,
Yeah. And burns
thanks.
them.
And he tells all the guys, hey, get out of here. We're not doing this.
Well, that, Tom, I didn't know that. That's a part of history I didn't know. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Look up Eisenhower, the czar system. Yeah. He had
Wow.
12 or 13 czars.
Dude, how do you know so much about history? Did you, when you went to
This is all
college?
actually, almost everything I'm talking about is like one book, Raven Rock by Garrett Graff. I just love this book.
What's the name of it again?
Raven Rock.
Raven Rock?
Yeah, that's the nickname of Site R. It's one of the nuclear bunkers. He just named
Yeah,
it like
yeah.
that. It's I've had him on here before. I think it was actually the best selling Audible book a couple years ago. But it's all in there,
Interesting.
and it's all
Really?
like the extent of all this. So it's like, well, so now that I said that out loud, though, it's now I'm thinking it's like that almost starts to give credence to, you go, is Kennedy an asset? Because you go, not only is he walking us towards this, he's getting rid of the survival mechanism.
Yeah,
So now you
yeah.
start going, it seems like you
Double
don't even
tap.
want us to survive.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that. That's very interesting. Well, and Tom, this is great that you're putting this out there because a lot of people, there's so much crap out there. Read the history behind it. You know
Yes.
what I mean? That's the problem. A lot of people just don't want to read the history behind this stuff and why somebody or a small group of people at the agency said enough is enough. This is why we're doing this. We're doing this for the benefit of our people, for survivability reasons, or whatever the case may be. But read about this, folks. Don't just listen to Tom because he's knowledgeable more than me. Read about it and then form your own opinion at that point.
Look at
Right?
it
I mean, that's
all.
what I say.
Look at it all, and then, yeah, come
Yeah.
to those terms on your
Yeah.
own, on like, what
Yeah.
do you think is going on. And it's just, again, it's, look at it like this didn't happen in 1963. Look at it like it happened in 963. Look at it like it's 1,000 years ago, like the country doesn't even exist anymore. And just look at it, and not like you're running for office. Well, it's wrong. No, just you're sitting around a bonfire with all your buddies shit faced, and you go, well, what are we gonna do? How do you look at this? And like, realistically, and when you get to like that level of
Right.
weight on your shoulders, you
Sure.
go, what would you do?
Yeah.
I
Dude, tough
don't.
decisions, Tom, made by tough men and women too. I mean,
And
I'm sure. Yeah.
well
Very,
well
very tough decisions.
and it's, there's no do-overs. There's no what happens
No,
if we don't.
no, no.
And it's,
There's no timeout. I don't like how this is working out. So everybody just kind of stop. It doesn't work that
yeah, and
way.
it's
Wish it
again,
did.
it's World War II, 17 years in the rearview mirror. You have nuclear weapons, which are brand new and no one knows anything about.
Yeah.
And not only that, and we know that ours was infiltrated. And then you look at like, oh, and here's another little tidbit, like, well, how high stakes is this? Oh, by the way, it's classified, but we have all the Nazis actually working for us. Well, why do you have them working for us? because if we don't have them, we're not going to beat the Soviets. That's how toe to toe this thing is.
Sure.
It is overwhelming selection forces pressing on one
Yeah.
another.
Oh yeah.
And yet, dude, you have this guy who's fucking getting
Yeah.
shit faced, cheating on his wife, and Marilyn
Yep.
Monroe's bitching
Yep.
about
Yeah.
how.
Yep. There are a lot of factors that they were looking at. I
Yeah,
mean, a lot, and I'm sure, Tom, way more than what we even know or will ever know.
well,
There's
we will
probably
never know.
there's probably so many things that they were factoring into their risk matrix. Like, man, if we do this, this is unprecedented. Like, somebody finds out we did, we're all going to die, and we're all going to get killed for treason. Plus, what it's going to make the country look, blah blah blah. They did their due diligence. There's no doubt about it. These people, especially there at the agency, if that's who did it, whatever, those folks are extremely methodical. They think things through. They look at the short term, long term effects. Like, if we do this now, like, I can tell you right now, dude, there were people, and this is on a very, very small scale. We purposely left bad guys out in the field operating. Even though we knew where they were, we could have rolled them up or killed them. We let them continue to operate and had a little bit of tactical patience until they gave us what we wanted to the next person, and then we got them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, no,
there's
map out the
they think,
networks.
yeah, exactly. And that's a tiny, tiny, tiny little thing compared to what we're talking about. But that's how they operate. They look at short term, long term effects. If we do this now, what's going to happen 10 years from now? So, anyway, but
And
yeah, it is.
I was gonna say to, and just like one more thought on this is just kind of thinking about. I mean, I've another book called The Ghost by Jefferson Morley. I've had him on to talk about James Jesus Angleton and his whole like mental process, and then about Curtis LeMay, who this wasn't just a random. He was Secretary of the Air Force. He is big dog.
Mhm.
He's Doctor Strangelove is based off, and munching on
Yeah.
on the cigar. So he had a thing where in after World War II, all the Strategic Air Command bases in Europe, he wanted multiple lines in case the Soviets started moving, and all the European countries said, "We're not going to let you do that because we're technically not at war anymore." Curtis LeMay sent a bunch of his guys over there, agents, OSS, CIA guys, and in plain clothes and using public railroads all throughout Europe, stashed weapons, jet fuel, and all these places, but you would never know. It was like, oh, that's a farmhouse. Well, actually, it's full of jet fuel for a whatever, a B
Right.
52. And he set up all these lines, and he said, I don't care if it's illegal. Like, I'm going to get it done. I'm not going to sit around. And then another famous quote of his is, technically, there's presidential control over the actual warheads of nuclear weapons, and he had to have delegation, and like the where they were stored nearby was technically under the Department of Energy. This is out at Offutt Air Force Base, which was the head of Strategic Air Command. And he said, and he actually went to the people at the DOE, whoever his correspondent was, and nuclear war would happen, and the president would tell them to hand it. All well and good. Curtis, who's a World War II vet, went to him and said, if war breaks out and I don't hear from Washington in something like in under 2 minutes, I'm rolling up with a bunch of Marines, and we're taking the nuclear warheads, and basically we're going to kill anyone that says we're not. And his famous quote was, "If war breaks out and I don't hear from Washington, I will not. I am not content to sit around dumb and happy, fat, dumb, stupid, and happy to do nothing. I'm going to take those
Wow.
warheads and I'm going to go bring it to the Soviets." So you have these guys
Wow.
who have this, they don't
Mentality. Yeah.
sit
Yeah.
around and go, "Where's the
Yeah.
help coming from?" They
Right.
lock and load and go, "We are the help."
Yeah.
And then you have Kennedy who's going, "No, you
Right.
can't go in it." Hey, man, again, I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
right. It's clearly it's wrong. It's objectively wrong. I
Sure.
just don't think you have a bunch of World War II vets who have buried more friends than you'll ever have
Sure.
going, "Well, Kennedy said."
It's okay.
I just
It's
don't.
okay. It's okay. No, it's not okay.
You have these guys who were hardened in the cauldron of World
Yes.
War II.
Yes.
What
And people
a
need to
lot of
put that in the equation, dude.
these
These
guys
aren't
have
woke ass men. These are real men.
these
These
are
are real men. They don't make guys like that no more.
LeMay purposely was the front plane of every formation because he said, "I will not send my men where I don't go." So he led the bombing raids in
Yeah.
Japan.
That's a bad motherfucker right there, dude.
And then you have
Yeah.
Kennedy saying, "No, we're not going to do this." Who, well, okay, he was in a PT boat. Cool. I mean, respect, but I just
I
don't
know.
I think you have a lot of these guys that are like, you're pissing on the grave of half a
Yes.
million American men,
Sure.
18-year-olds who got mowed down.
Sure.
Is it
Yeah.
right? No, but hey, the world isn't black and white, so it's
No, it's not. And
yeah,
Tom, and that's a great segue
yeah,
out of this.
yeah,
Folks, the world is not black and white. There's a lot of gray. I've seen it, there's not always the cut and dry answer. Like, sometimes you have to make moral and ethical decisions. You got to be completely agnostic. Like, you have to
yes,
look at it for face value. Like, if we don't act, this is what can happen. If this happens, millions of people are going to die. So do you sit there and not do anything and let that, especially with these guys, you're talking about these hardcore World War II dudes. Like, of course you're not going to sit there. Of course you're not. I wouldn't. To be quite honest with you, if somebody put a bunch of data in front of me and says, Joe, there's two courses of action. We do or we don't. If we do, this is what we can more than likely are going to not have to deal with. If we don't, this is what's going to happen. That scale is going to go like this. Bing! Like, it's going to bury itself in the ground.
it's
Make your own decisions, people. Don't go off of Tom's knowledge and his expertise in history, and pick it up for yourself, man. Read it and then come to your own conclusion. If you think it's disgusting, then hey, that's your right as an American to
yes.
think what you want, and you're entitled to your opinion, just like Tom's entitled to his, and I'm entitled to mine. But please don't look at the agency as some loose cannon. Like, they do good work. There's a lot of patriotic people there doing a lot of things that you will never know about. Things that are costing them family time and friends just because they're working there, the lives they have to live. You got knocks that no one knows what they're doing. I mean, these people are making huge sacrifices. And folks, no, they're not getting NBA salaries, okay? They're not even coming close to what these people should be getting paid. You want to talk about making millions? Those people should be making millions of dollars, and they don't. They do it because they love their country. Don't forget that.
James G.
Don't
Sangleton,
forget that.
he drank himself into an early grave, and it was because, and when he asked at the end, they're like, "What do you miss most in life?" And he goes, "Do you miss the agency?" And he goes, "He's one word." Just goes, "Totally." These are, dude. It's a
Yeah,
different, are there bad apples? Yeah, in every thing. I'm a bad apple. I do bad shit that I shouldn't do, but it's just,
sure.
it's the data in front of you, and then it's also the implications. Is Kennedy the mayor of Marietta, Georgia? No, he's the president. And what are the implications? That the Soviets might take West Berlin? No, they might nuke the.
Right.
Hey man, I think you have these guys that look around, all Angleton, LeMay, all Christian guys, probably said, and hey, Lord, in your eyes, you see
Yeah.
what I see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, I don't, and and I think most importantly is this, is it's a there's no do over.
No.
It's not me where I
No.
go, maybe if I do a
No.
podcast and
No.
then go to the
No.
gym.
No. No. There's no do
Yeah,
over, dude, in this.
there's no do over where
You
you go, you know
like
what?
I say, you can't be a little bit pregnant.
Yeah, you can. What I mean is, like, even like my morning routine. Sometimes I'm like, well, maybe if I go to the gym after and I try that, and I go, no, I don't really like that. There's no do over, and
No.
so, hey, man, I guess
No.
I'm with you. I just,
Cool.
I can't throw them into a. I don't. I have no idea. I really can't,
No.
and it's just,
As long as the decision was made in the best of our people, that's all I care about. Hey, you want to say before we go, Tom? Want to see my dog,
yeah.
my alligator? She's getting big. Come here, baby. Come say hi. Come up here. Yeah.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby.
Hey, she's a beast, dude.
Hey,
Let me tell
baby.
you something.
Hey,
I'm
baby.
training her. I got body armor for her now. She's got a whole body. Yeah, dude. Goggles. Yeah, I'm kind of training her myself, but I'm not a dog trainer. I can only take her so far. And then I'm going to bring a guy in to do the back part. But man, it's a smart dog.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. These dogs, Belgian Malinois, are insane. And for those of you that even think about getting one, you better have room. My front yard is like 4 football fields. So she has room to run. From the minute those things wake up to the minute they go to bed, they're stuck in fifth gear.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just want to show her to
No,
you.
she's a
I'm real
beautiful
proud of her,
dog.
man. She's an
Should
awesome
be.
dog. But dude, good talking for sure, man.
You as
Just
well.
people make up your own decisions, but do your fucking homework. Don't just listen to stuff. I mean, do your homework, then make up your mind.
Yeah, read
You know?
and remove emotion from it.
Yes, remove emotion and look at it from like, was this in the best interest of our country? Yes or no?
Yeah,
Only you can make up that decision.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, for everybody listening, please go to the description. Please go follow Joe on Instagram. Please go grab his book, Lone Operator. Please go check out the knife. That link will be in the description as well. And yeah, dude, appreciate your time. That was a good
Yes,
chat.
sir.
Yeah, no, it's
Thanks, Tom.
yeah,
Let's
brother.
do it again.
All right, Joe. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for
Yes, sir.
watching.